So let's talk about God, or whatever you want to name it. By my experience, it doesn't care. But it concerns us all, no matter if we believe in something or if you don't. It has an influence on our lives. Looking back on thousands of years, we had a long time without any media. No radio, no movies, no electronic, digital interaction at all. We used to meet around the campfire. And what did we do? We played music, probably, and we told stories. Everybody relates to stories. Everybody used to like hearing stories. Nowadays we watch them on TV or whatever chosen media we use. However, the religions of this world evolve mostly around a story that was created or happened thousands of years ago. Somebody woke up. Somebody stepped out of his ordinary life and woke up to his senses of being a human being in a world created on a planet that whizzed around the sun, turning at 2,000 kilometers an hour around its own axle and being drawn by the sun with all the other planets in a spiral movement through open space. What an incredible thing that is, isn't it? However, this person, no matter which one we think of, woke up to this fantastic reality. And of course, waking up, you want to share what you are experiencing. It's more than an ordinary life. So you happen to address people. And people were fascinated by them. And what they did, once they heard, once they listened to his stories, or once they saw what unfolded around him, what they experienced, they wrote it down. So a book was created. As a matter of fact, there's many books that were created thousands of years ago. We don't have to name them. And I don't blame you to follow them either, because it only expresses your need, your wish to wake up. However, people gathered around this book. And as it happens with all material things, they want to be governed. So from the gathering around the book, an elite evolved. This elite saw themselves to be especially responsible for the content of this book and for this book itself. So they thought, we need to protect it. So they built walls around it. Walls we know today as temples or churches. And somebody, of course, had to govern the building, and once the building was accomplished, the buildings themselves, they needed to be governed. so this elite put itself into the position of telling the crowd, the average believer, what was meant by the content of this book. And everybody believed in its content and followed it and made a habit of it. You know, it's like opening the drawer of a cupboard, putting the book into it and pulling it open once a week. For the rest of the week, we have to follow our chores. And mind you, in those days, there wasn't any supermarkets. They all worked in the fields or went hunting with bow and arrow for thousands of years to feed their family. And once a week they gathered and confirmed their belief. And that is basically what a religion is. Now, to bring this belief into our actual life, we have to come to terms with quite a few things, namely that there is no time. All the past ever happened because it left a trace within our personality, and we remember it and determine who we are by our past. But whenever the past happened, it only ever came to us as the present. That's a very distinctive fact. Same applies to the future. Whatever we dream of in the future to accomplish, whatever it is that we want to achieve, that, you know, the time when we will be really happy, when all the problems and all the suffering has been forgotten and we have arrived at the target. All this future ever comes as the present. And if you can be happy in the present, in the future, you can look back on a happy past. Isn't that intriguing? You know, and just that applies to what we call God. Time is always now. And our happiness and the freedom and the peace and all the good attributes that we ever want to achieve, they all are in the present. The more we learn to be present, the more we learn to be who we really are. Because, do you mind? There is nothing but God. The whole space, all the manifestation of planets and suns and stars and distant galaxies, that's all in that one creation, in that one God. And God itself comes to us through this creation. We are surrounded by it. We are it. That's a very significant fact. Not that we are almighty, because we are only a tiny, 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 tiny fraction of it. But we are it. And as we awake to it, as we let this life take over, as we shut our ego, our thought pattern, our analyzing thought structure, shut down, we get in touch with that which is leading us throughout our lives all the time. It has never left us. We may have fallen for the belief to be on our own, to be separate from everybody else and from the world. But we are not. Never, ever are we separate. We breathe the air. And you know what it's like if you haven't got any air to breathe. Just dive underwater, and within seconds you will realize how dependent you are on the rest of it. The same thing applies to our skin. It's breathing. You know what it's like to live in a skin that can't breathe? So what we call God, what we call the universe, you name it, is never, ever far from us. It is right here where we are. And to experience it, I mean, we are experiencing it all the time, but to wake up to this experience, all we need to do is keep still, is keep silent, is turn away from distraction through others around us, distraction through the world that we choose to live in, distraction through the media we are constantly using. We want to be able to be still, to listen what's going on in that inner space. And yes, there are thoughts. And thoughts come like waves on an ocean. While they ripple the surface, the humongous ocean is underneath, creating those waves or letting those waves be. And some of these waves, they don't mean anything to us. They're just passing by. Thoughts that don't concern us, thoughts that are far away from our lives, they still pass through us. And as you must have noticed, they come and they go. And then there are these waves which make a really big splash. Mostly they are the thoughts that concern us, the thoughts that have to do with what's happening in our lives. And we are obliged to react to them. And if we do, everything's well. We just react to them, and that's it. And feel how we are guided to react. We feel the breath flowing in and the breath flowing out. And we open up to whatever we perceive. We take the labels of things. We don't see things because somebody told us that is what it is. But we experience it as something deriving from the same source as what we do. And I can only emphasize that once we do that, once we step into our own silence, instead of living a normal life, our whole life changes. All the fantastic attributes that we have been chasing all along, like happiness, wealth, freedom, peace, all those attributes we find within ourselves, because that is what we are. That is the structure of our soul, of our everlasting traveling soul. Yes, our body comes and goes, and before too long I'm going to have a new one. But where do I get my assurance? Where do I get my security? In the silence. In the silence that leads me to myself, and that leads me so that I don't have to believe, but I actually experience what it means to be alive. And please do leave me a comment. I appreciate so much if you let me know what you think. What you see are the endless grain fields of South Australia. A fertile soil is producing food for the world. And this, of course, is the native bushland, surviving on very poor soils, but regenerative for so many city dwellers who come out here to recreate their thirsty souls.